This is your pool party captain, Randy Fitzsimmons, and you're listening to the Game Changer Podcast. Pew pew!
What is going on, Game Changer Universe? I am NateFNGreat, being joined here by the one and only VictoriBelle. You're listening to the Game Changer Podcast, like I said. Oh boy, this is going to be a very interesting week. But first of all, how's it going, my lovely co-host?
It's great. Yeah, it's good. It's obviously a little wet around Chicago, but it's been raining for like 2 weeks. How about Wisconsin?
Well, Wisconsin has been kind of dealing with the same deal. I know that we started having the bit of the rain deals this past Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken, and it's kind of been on and off since then, so we may possibly be in one of those deals where we're probably going to have a flood. If anybody has a giant boat that can hold up 2 of every animal, you know, they'd be much appreciated right now, so just saying, just in case something like that happens. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's better be prepared than not. So, guys, this is going to be a bit of an interesting episode because we are going to be focusing more movie-oriented, a couple news stories here there. Also, we're going to give our thoughts on the preview of Joker, which is actually going to be premiering tonight. That is going to be one of those movies that's going to be very interesting, and we're going to talk about, you know, some expectations that we have, some things that we would like to come out of this movie, and honestly, talking about just, you know, maybe the impact it's going to have on the DC Universe. Before we get into that, we got to talk about this because it's been something we've actually been going on for. I don't think we've talked about this subject as much as we have over the last month, I want to say, and it is the resolution between the whole Spider-Man deal between Sony and Disney. They finally reached an agreement earlier this week where they are allowing, Sony's allowing Spider-Man to appear in 2 MCU movies, but that also means that Spider-Man can appear in certain Sony projects. So basically, one of the articles I read said that while he could be featured in an Avengers movie, he also could appear in some kind of Sony project. Like, one idea that was happening was the Hobgoblin series that they're kind of mentioning. Also not ruling out the crossover with Venom, so we definitely know that that would be something that a lot of people would enjoy. I myself am happy with the fact that Tom Holland will be reprising the role. They're not going to be doing a revamping. They're not going to be changing it up. So as far as, you know, thoughts going into this is going to be a very interesting deal because one movie we know that Spider-Man will be a part of will be the 3rd installment of the Spider-Man franchise under the MCU, which will be released, I believe, in 2021, if I'm not mistaken. And it's definitely going to be one of those things that we definitely could use a little more closure on, you know, what happens to Spider-Man after the end of Far From Home. Maybe even a build-up into another Avengers story, possibly another, you know, movie crossover with a different hero in the MCU. So right now, we're at the point where we're at a very steady situation, but I will say this, that the whole entire ordeal has just been a complete mess, and if this is Sony's and Disney's ways of, like, trolling the fan base, bravo, but if this is just legit drama, guys, you gotta get your shit together. I'm sorry, I cannot go through another roller coaster like that.
Yeah, it's been just almost obnoxious, I think. That's why when you were, like, telling me, like, let's talk about this, I'm like, all I have to say is I'm glad it's over for now. They're obviously going to have issues with this. The first issue is allowing Marvel to borrow him in the first place, because obviously Sony is a little salty about that. It's almost like an ex-girlfriend or something, like sharing a pet or something. You can't, like, you're not going to be able to share a pet with your exes, whatever. Because one person wants to keep it. It's your baby. It's your pet. Like, it's like, oh, well, for one weekend you can have it with your family, and then one weekend I have it with my family, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, it's not going to work out. But I agree with you. I'm happy that Tom Holland gets to continue to wear the mask and be our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man for a while. I think the best thing that the Marvel Universe could do on Disney's side is to probably get a new guy to cover it eventually, because I think if you're really thinking about it hard, like, Sony believes that Spider-Man could probably hold up on their end again, and I don't disagree with them. I think if you bring Spider-Man back and you do the whole Spider universe by itself without any other Marvel people that Disney owns, I bet they could do a really fun, cool series and cool movie trilogy with Venom and all of our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man people, you know?
You know, it's kind of funny you mentioned the whole Spider-Man deal, because when I was thinking to myself, you know, what are some of the possibilities that can come out of this deal, one idea that I was thinking about was that, well, is there a chance that maybe the Tom Holland Spider-Man could go into the Spider-Verse? And that could still be a possibility, because if we remember correctly, in Spider-Man Homecoming, they actually had a little Easter egg where Aaron Davis, who is the uncle to well-known Spider-Man Miles Morales, was featured in that movie. So there is a possibility that they could try to bring Miles Morales into that live-action role, and maybe they take... It's possible that they could take that, but that might also be another Sony deal that they would have to resolve, which... Honestly, I don't know if we're ready to go through another battle with another Spider-Man. No disrespect to the Spider-Man character, to the Miles Morales deal. I loved him in Spider-Man Enter the Spider-Verse. I recently just watched that again, and it was awesome. I just think that it's one of those things where they had that little Easter egg in Spider-Man Homecoming. It's going to be one of those things that's going to be too hard to ignore. And honestly, I think that Miles may be entered into the MCU sooner rather than later. That's my opinion on that. And I think it'd be really cool to see Miles Morales in a live-action Spider-Man, not just the animated one, which is great. I think
I would love to see live-action Miles Morales, but I don't think he'll be in the MCU. I think he'll be in the Sony Marvel. I know it's hard to say the MCU because, like, MCU is like Marvel Universe, and technically he is a Marvel person, but he's not owned by Marvel anymore. So I could see him coming to life, but I don't see. I mean, after these conversations, if Sony continues to allow Disney Marvel to use their characters, it just doesn't make sense to me. It just sounds like it's going to be an argument, a fight, and then who's going to hurt are the fans who will pay to see these movies, and then people aren't going to complete the movies. It's like you said about, your one of the favorite series that you have is Firefly, and they just ended with a cliffhanger. Like, you wanted more. It just isn't always the best. I mean, I want the owners of these icons to, own them and treat them right and make them good in their own sense. Like, Sony can definitely make a good movie. We've seen it before. Venom was one of their good movies. It wasn't the perfect movie, but it was pretty good. Everybody liked it. So let's see more of that quality coming from Sony so that we get another kind of taste of the superhero world that isn't just from Disney or from Warner Brothers, which is DC, but, we're going to be talking a little bit about DC coming up, and it just seems like they are really trying to hold their own, and I think Sony could definitely do that as well.
No, I definitely do agree with that. You did talk about DC, so actually, guys, this is going to be kind of interesting. I think this will be the first time we're going to have a more DC-centered podcast in quite a while. I think the last one probably had to have been either Justice League or, oh gosh, I want to say that there was one even after that. But either way, a lot happening with the DC Universe. Actually, let's just go into talking about the preview for this, because tonight is the release of the Joker movie. Joaquin Phoenix will be reprising the role of the Joker. From what we've been seeing with the trailers, it has definitely been one of those movies that it looks like it's going to be a different style than what we've been used to in the past, whether it was the Jack Nicholson version, the Heath Ledger version, unfortunately the Jared Leto version. But it still seems like it has that kind of, feel that we would expect from the Joker. So this is kind of one of those movies that I'm very interested in seeing what kind of spin that they actually have with this movie, what kind of take they're going to have on the Joker character. From what I've been seeing, there's been a lot of positive things that have been going on. One thing that we may have mentioned before was the fact that somebody took a video, not of the movie, but of literally the end credit scenes where there was a huge standing ovation for that movie. So it seems like there's going to be a lot of great things to be expected from this movie. Now, the question is, are we hyping it too much? Are we expecting too much? I mean, we had a few movies that we thought this could be great, but it turned out it's a disappointment. I mean, I've already had 2 live-action remakes that were disappointing to me this year. We're not going into that again. But having this kind of revamped Joker deal, I'm very curious to see how they kind of do it, because it's not like the Heath Ledger Joker where he's got the scars or anything like that. It seems like it's more emotionally driven than physically and emotionally driven, like we've seen in the past. But I don't know. What are some of your expectations going into this movie?
The interesting thing for the Joker is I've seen all the trailers, I've heard the comments, and I have no idea what it's going to be about. Like, I get, like, I've never really gone into Joker's backstory before. One, I don't think I wanted to. He's a creeper. He's a weirdo. But it looks like he's going to be, like, they're really making it realistic. He's like a clown on an old-time show, and obviously it's an old-time, like, this is probably 20 years ago type of thing, too, so, which is also cool. And it just looks super messed up, but in the best possible ways of making this psychopath of a villain humanized to the sense of people are enjoying it. And, people like the Joker in general, but I don't think that people like the Joker. And I think this is going to tell you kind of why he's so messed up and kind of give it more of a psychological factors, just like how we have some psychological thrillers that you probably really enjoy, and I enjoy psychological thrillers that are cool, so I'm hoping it's more of that type of thing than superhero-y. I kind of don't think it's going to have, like, any heroes. It might have, like, mentions, and mentions of them being these godlike creatures, like how DC has been saying, and how Joker just wants to, like, knock him down a peg because he feels like he's nothing. But I don't know. I don't want to go in with expectations for this movie, and that's kind of how I am going to go in. I'm not going to go in expecting much, and I'm excited to see what this movie is going to bring, like giving us Oscar nominations, it sounds like, and so I'm just excited for, a DC movie to have such praise going into it.
Yeah, we'll definitely try to cover it more next week when we do the Joker review, fingers crossed. It's going to be very interesting, like you said, because we've heard so many positive things. Even people have said that Joaquin Phoenix should deserve a Oscar for this performance. But, I mean, to me, it's going to be kind of tough to do that because I'm one of the many people that probably still believe that Robert Downey Jr. deserves an Oscar-winning performance for his role, for his portrayal of Iron Man from Avengers Endgame. But you kind of mentioned, the idea of them trying to, humanize him just a little bit. I think that Joker's one of the few villains that you could legitimately get away with that because he is still legitimately human. He still is in a way just like a regular person, only he's literally snapped. That's the thing. He's kind of past the point where I think I've never really told this story, but I think it's kind of one of those things that it might be kind of relatable because there's a build-up episode of wrestling to WrestleMania 32, so this was a few years ago, and the show was literally so bad that I remember just laughing because I think it was just that humorous. But then I just remember thinking to myself, why can't I stop laughing? This went on for at least like maybe 3 or 5 minutes. And I'm thinking to myself, that is something that, the Joker could literally do. He could have, something going on in his life where it is so bad that he literally just breaks. He literally just snaps, and that's what kind of causes it. So you mentioned that whole humanizing deal. It's one of those things where it's probably pretty easy to humanize him because he's one of those characters that literally can, get away with that. There's some people that are like, well, this person became this because of this, or because of the fact they had, superpowers, they fell into a vat, or blah, 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 blah. For that, it's literally one of those situations where Joker feels like his backstory is all based around human circumstances more than anything. He wasn't, thrown into a vat. He wasn't thrown into, like, this chemical deal. He wasn't, bitten by a radioactive spider or anything like that. Literally, it's like the worst of human consequences balled into a single person. I think that's kind of the best way you can describe Joker.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. It's going to be interesting, and I think like that's what people should go into. Like, all right, I'm not really going to see this like comic book movie. It's going to be more of a thriller, is what I'm thinking. But I don't know, so I could be wrong.
And I will say this, that when I was working at the theater last night, one of the things I noticed was that they actually have flyers for the whole Joker deal where they said they're not going to allow anybody to wear face paint, to wear the masks, to wear these things that kind of cover their faces for the safety of everybody. And that's one of those things that I can honestly agree with. I remember watching, I think it was either the first time I saw Endgame or the third time I saw Endgame, I was dressed up as Deadpool and they wouldn't allow me to wear the Deadpool mask or anything like that, which, it's understandable. They really don't want it to be one of those things where it's kind of like, there's just so much risk that comes with people having those disguised days, because it's like, oh, well, we can get away with anything. I mean, it's like literally human history 101, where people have always done this deal. Some people remember like the classic, deals where the bad guys are always wearing the mask. It's to conceal their identity, so that way, their families aren't in danger. That way, they won't get caught and blah, blah. Same situation with theaters. We're trying to do this to protect, people from the possibility of getting harmed. And literally, I mean, there's been too many examples when it comes to theater, casualties, where we just cannot risk that. So,
yeah. I mean, the last shooter that went to a theater was during the Dark Knight, so aka Joker.
Yeah.
So that's something definitely to bring up through this conversation is the state of our country with all these. I'm just going to say psychopaths. We don't want that to be in our entertainment, so you don't want it to even feel threatened by that. So I applaud your theater, and I hope that most theaters are doing it. I don't want this to happen, but checking out people's bags and stuff maybe needs to happen just to make sure nobody is doing anything crazy just because it's a freaking Joker movie. Like, he's a fake character in a fake world, and he's a fake psychotic who gets away with things that no real psychotic could ever do. So,
and it's kind of one of those things, and this is kind of getting a little off topic, but it is kind of one of those things that's really kind of good to kind of bring up, is that it's amazing how people make it seem like, these TV series, these movies have definitely been influential in their actions. One case example of that was a deal that happened actually not too long ago. I think it was actually a couple of years ago. I remember when this happened in a smaller city here in Wisconsin, or it may have been one of the bigger cities. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I just remember somebody was making it a big deal, like, oh, hey, we're going to have a purge night, and literally people are like, there's
what?
no there's no laws that have been saying that, hey, we're going to do a purge deal, we're not doing this, we're doing this. And they had police squads everywhere, just making sure that nobody was doing anything crazy like that. So to have, it started with one person. To have that one person basically make it seem like, oh, it's okay to do this purge thing because the purge movie says it's okay. Because, like it's saying, it's like cleansing of the soul. It's doing this kind of deal. I don't understand the madness behind the explanation of that. It's one of those things where there's no law, and Donald Trump, as some people would say that he is literally the worst president, he's not going to pass that kind of law. He doesn't believe in the idea of purging. He doesn't believe in that kind of, honestly, I'm going to call it straight, he doesn't believe in that kind of stupidity. It's not one of those things that's going to better America. It really isn't. But somebody has it in their head that it is going to better America. It's going to make me feel like I'm a better person. It's like, no, you're not going to be a better person for it. You're a better person by living life and not having those thoughts of literally thinking like you need this to kind of make yourself into a better person. You want to do that? Go hunting when it's hunting time. Go hunt a duck. Go hunt a deer. Do something like that. Don't hunt people. That's madness.
Yeah, I don't even... Right. That's ridiculous. If you have those thoughts in your head, go to a therapist and go to a doctor, because there's something wrong with you.
Yeah. And this is kind of maybe like a PSA here. You just have to remember, guys, that there are people that can help you, and there are those who are professionally professionally trained to help you. Definitely, if you feel those kind of thoughts, like she said, go see a professional, somebody who has been having the proper training to know the things that they needed to say to get those thoughts out of your head. It's definitely better to be safe than to be sorry. Getting off of that dark note, I guess we're going into another dark note, but we'll see. Got to talk about Harley Quinn. I mean, Margot Robbie will be reprising the role in a couple of feature movies, one of which will be coming out in February 2020, that being the Birds of Prey movie. Now, main thing that we've gotten out of this is the premise that says that, Harley Quinn is, kind of out of the Suicide Squad. She's on her own. Her and Joker kind of broke up. Batman's nowhere to be seen. And it's talking about a couple of, people that she's met along the way, one of which is Black Canary. So, we are getting that, relationship between her as well as Black Canary. Friendship relationship, not romantic one, at least not to my knowledge. But, honestly, movie universe could probably change it into something else. It might make sense, or it might just be one of those things that's totally bonkers. Anyway, the whole trailers that I finally got a chance to watch again today. I watched it, I think to myself, okay, this is definitely one of those things where it's showing a little more of the, psychotic side of Harley Quinn, and also kind of the sweet side that she has, which a lot of people definitely kind of enjoyed in the original Batman series, was the fact that, she definitely had this kind of two-faced deal, but she did it because that was who she is. It's the Harleen Quinzel is still there inside of her. It's just a matter of, just finding that spot. And it looks like we're going to have that kind of deal. And honestly, I applaud, Warner Brothers for doing this, because they know that Harley Quinn was kind of one of the highlights of the original Suicide Squad movies. So the fact that it's kind of getting a spin-off, we're getting some more characters involved in the DC universe, I'm totally on board for it. Even though my co-host, Agent Cooper, a.k.a. Max, is kind of looking at it like, yeah, I'm kind of done with this. I'm not interested. For me, it's like, no, I'm interested in this. DC's been actually doing pretty good as far as movies have been going. We talk about Aquaman. We talk about Shazam. Already they are getting back on the right track of being like, okay, we have some pretty good relatable superheroes. We have movies that we like. They had some great stories behind them, some great origins for them. Seems like it's going to be great. Now we're going into somebody who's been established, but we're also going to have some characters involved along the way. It's going to be kind of interesting. Have you gotten a chance to see the trailer for Birds of Prey yet? And if you have, what are your thoughts on it?
I have, and it sounds really interesting. And what's even more interesting is, I didn't really realize they were doing it so soon. When I saw the release date in 2020, I was like, when did they haven't even been talking about this, I feel. Like, I think there's just been so much drama with the Justice League that, like, they just literally were like, we'll just finish what we can, and that's kind of what they did. It looks pretty good to me. I really like Black Canary. I know Huntress is going to be in it as well, and those are kind of, you know, two of the main other heroes who are in the Birds of Prey. We might end up seeing a Poison Ivy, and that's the kind of the romantic relationship Harley Quinn gets with one of the Birds of Prey is Poison Ivy. But we might not. Who knows? But it just seems like a fun, like, you know, revenge female movie, which is always, you know, kind of fun for people. We've seen it before. Hopefully it'll be better than, what was it? The, Ocean's 8 or 8, whatever happened. That was garbage to me. But, it looks really good, and I need to say this because I haven't talked about it yet. So, our good friend Joe, Photo Joe Alexi, actually allowed me to get on his DC Universe account. And DC Universe has been around now, guys, for almost 2 years. And it was the first platform out of all of the platforms that are coming up. So, to be its own thing. It's a Warner Brothers only DC platform, and it has that Young Justice, it has Titans, which is the Teen Titans live action, it has Doom Patrol live action, it has Swamp Thing live action, and all of these things are really good. And I was just so impressed by this DC universe that, like, I'm probably going to get my own account and support them. And I know they've already had some issues and troubles with it just because it is so under the radar, but it's something that I feel like I would love for you to take the 2-week trial and watch some of these shows and then us kind of discuss what we think and feel about DC Universe, because it's really good and it's really not for kids, and that to me is extremely interesting. Like, Swamp Thing alone, like, they said that they canceled it because it was so messed up, and I saw the first episode and I was like, yeah, like, they rip a whole, like, dead body in pieces, and it's gross, and I was like, oh my gosh. But, like, at the same time, you're like, I mean, this is, yeah, I could see this happening in this world. So it's very interesting. DC has really stepped up, and I think that's something that everybody has noticed in general with, like, the CW, like Arrow and The Flash and all these shows that are series and like episodic. People really like these. They have a very strong following. Supergirl's one of them, and they're just about to do, like, an Infinite World where maybe even Smallville's Tom Welling Superman is coming back for it. And as someone who hasn't really followed all of these TV shows, I'm already kind of excited for them, because I'm like, that's really exciting to get all these past people coming back and having this loyalty to the DC universe that obviously isn't there in their cinematic films. And we need to, I mean, they need to figure it out why this is not happening, why this Justice League, like, debacle happened, and what they're going to do with it. But all these, you know, side characters, side stories are phenomenal, are great, and they're worth watching, and I would definitely recommend, you know, the DC Universe. And this little side story about the Birds of Prey in Gotham, it's interesting how you will not need Batman. Like, you don't need him. It's fun to have that, like, the shadow of him around, and you feel it in Gotham, just like in Teen Titans. Like, we had the shadow of Batman a long time, because it was focusing on Dick Grayson, ex-Robin. But you didn't need him there, because you already knew who Batman was, so you didn't need to see him. So, I don't know, it's just something that I think is really interesting. And the Joker was in the Teen Titans as well.
You know, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head that, Batman is kind of like in the background right now. And right now, he kind of is until they kind of have like an established guy to play Batman. I mean, for a long time we thought it was going to be Christian Bale for a while. And then we had the Ben Affleck deal. Now we got, Robert Pattinson playing the role. So just, have him be like, that dark figure that kind of looming in the background. It makes sense. And it makes sense that, we don't know who it's going to be because, well, to be honest, they don't have an established guy yet. They've probably gone through more Batman reboots than any other, any other hero in the DC universe. So
right.
It's going to be one of those things. It's going to be very interesting to see who they finally get as the established one. If it's Robert Pattinson, hey, if he does a good job in the first one, I'll have no problem with that. If it's one of those things where it gets to be too bizarre, then I'll probably be one of those people who's like, well, I mean, anything's better than George Clooney, I guess. Sorry, I had to be that person. So getting back to the whole Harley Quinn deal, not only do we have Birds of Prey coming out then, but a year later, they actually have the date for August 6, 2021. We're getting the, I guess you can call it, the sequel to Suicide Squad. They've released and they've talked about some of the things that are going into it as far as the plot goes. They've also released a new cast list for who's going to be a part of this year. I'm actually going to look at a couple of the names here because the people that they do have returning are, of course, Margot Robbie, Jai Courtney, Joel Kinnaman, and Viola Davis. They are going to be returning and reprising the roles of Harley Quinn, Captain Boomerang, Rick Flag, and Amanda Waller. So they do have the familiarity to it, but they also have this very unique list of people that will be involved in this as well. Two names that kind of stand out here are Michael Rooker. For a lot of people that don't remember that guy, he is literally one of the best things in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, that being Yondu, as well as John Cena is going to be a part of this. Now, I know that there has been talk about John Cena getting involved in the superhero deal. I think that they actually had him slated for a role in the DC Universe. Did I think it was going to be a Suicide Squad movie? No, definitely not. I don't even remember what exactly they had him originally slated for, but I just remember so many people just saying, oh, John Cena's in it. Nope, not interested. Nope, we're good. It's like, you have to remember that it's not going to be centered around him. He's literally going to be in his role from Bumblebee. He'll probably be in the background or something like that, or he's not going to be as heavily featured, unless he gets to be featured heavily as one of the villains or something like that. Who knows at this point? Before I go too far into this, I gotta mention Birds of Prey has one shining star other than having Margot Robbie in it. It's also going to feature Ewan McGregor as Black Mask.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That looks awesome.
Oh my gosh, I see the scenes that they have him in, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is like Dark Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's turned to the dark side, yes. And I'm sorry, but I am too big of an Obi-Wan Kenobi mark where I know. There's a lot of people that say, he's done other stuff. Yes, I know. But that's what I remember him for. I'm sorry, but he is literally the best version of Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's going to be an Obi-Wan Kenobi deal during the Disney Plus deal. So for me to keep doing this, it's just one of those things I'm showing that I'm still a big Star Wars fan. Anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing how his performance goes. So far, I'm liking what I'm seeing. I'm just kind of curious what other dark moments he's probably going to have involved in this. But getting back to the Suicide Squad sequel, reboot, one thing that has been kind of left in the dark is, well, what about Joker? What about Jared Leto's Joker? Well, the crazy thing is that he doesn't even know what he's going to be doing for this movie. It seems like he's kind of out of the loop whether he's going to be a part of this or not. So we may be getting a revamped Joker down the line, or maybe we're getting the same Jared Leto Joker, but with just a different character to it. So if he's kind of confused on what he's going to be doing for that, or if he's even going to be involved in this, if they go a different route with the Jared Leto Joker, I'm fine with that. But just, please, for the love of God, don't do that whole deal that they did in Suicide Squad, where it just turned into, oh, they love each other. It's like, no, we know the story of Joker and Harley Quinn. Don't try to humanize that, because that's not going to happen. Don't try to make it to a lovey-dovey deal. Again, Not going to happen. I'm very interested in seeing where this goes with Suicide Squad 2. Well, I'm just going to call it Suicide Squad 2. Suicide Squad 2 definitely has like a really long list of new characters involved. They literally just had like a poster where it was just, Suicide Squad at the bottom and then a long list of people that are involved with this. It's a very unique cast, and honestly, I'm very interested in seeing what they do with this. If Michael Rooker takes a shot at Marvel, I could see that happening too, but whatever. I don't think he left Marvel on bad terms or Disney on bad terms, so I don't think it's going to be like that big of a shot. I could see Michael Rooker just being one of those guys that's just like, it's all harmless fun, it's fine. As long as I'm not saying like they're going to be like the worst place to work, then it's fine. It's just one of those things where or even if he makes like a Joker who's like, hey, it's better. In another universe, I was Mary Poppins, y'all. just those kind of little subtleties. That'd be kind of funny. But I do want to ask this, because the first thing that I noticed when I said the name John Cena was this look of like, what? So I want to ask, why that reaction?
Oh, I just didn't hear anything about it before. I was like, John Cena's in it, okay. I just didn't, I don't really know. I'm not in the John Cena wrestling arena type of thing.
But you have at least seen his some of his roles that he's played, right? In movies?
What?
You've seen like some of the roles that he's played in movies, right?
Yeah, I've seen him in a few like action movies that he like saves people, or he's part of the crew of other ex-wrestlers and stuff. And it seemed okay. I don't know. I don't really remember anything that I'm super proud of for him.
That's fair.
But yeah, I don't know. He wouldn't be someone who would make me go or make me not go to see a movie. He's just a name that I know people throw around and joke around about. So that's why I was like, oh, John Cena's in it. I don't know if that's a good thing.
Well, as long as they don't have like a deal where he just literally where it's one of those things where they bring back the meme where it's just like, and his name is John Cena. Do 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 do. As long as they don't bring that back, then I'll just be like, okay, he's good in this role. He's good in this role. If they bring that back, or if they even joke about it, I might just die a little inside. I'm sorry. I just got over that.
It would be nice to know what he was playing, or who he was playing, but it's also good not to know the characters so we can have a little bit of a surprise. But maybe he's like a Bane, but that would be weird because he shouldn't be. But I don't know. It would be interesting to know who he's playing.
Why would he not make a good Bane? Let me ask that question.
Well, I would kind of want, if they're really going to be as strict about casting as they they have been, Bane should actually be someone that is Latino descent, like probably someone from Mexico who could be a luchador, because that's what he was supposed to be.
But he was Juan Cena. Okay, bad example. Never mind. For those that are wrestling fans that would listen in, they would know what Juan Cena is. And some people would say, well, that's the only thing you need. It's like, nope, needs to be more. I think.
Well, you can mention it for your wrestling fans. I bet you have a lot of wrestlers that listen.
That is true. Of course, a lot of people know the Juan Cena deal where he was, quote unquote, gone from WWE, and to kind of disguise himself, he literally just had his same attire, but just wore a mask. That was it.
Oh my gosh.
That was literally it. It was like, wow, you're really being original with all your stuff. Great. Just great.
Then I'd be nervous that he is Bane.
I mean, honestly, we've only had, as far as I know, in the movie deal, I think we only had like 2 iterations of Bane, and that was the first one was during the Batman and Robin movie, which I think they did a pretty damn good job with that. Maybe less of the whole, kind of those things where it's like, okay, he's just literally like a giant lughead, where he was actually like a legit badass in the comics and in the cartoons. Then we got the Tom Hardy Bane, which a lot of people still kind of make fun of, just because he just sounds like this, you can't trust me, but here's a letter from Commissioner Gordon that says that he did it, and there's no proof at all that this was done by him. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, there's, again, a lot of plot holes when it comes to that Bane, but he still at least was pretty badass when he needed to be, and plus, he got his redemption. Tom Hardy was Venom, that was great. Still better than Topher Grace. Let's just face that point. So
yeah. I think it's interesting that they chose to do that. Now, when you first originally watched The Dark Knight Rises, you were like, oh, this is really cool, really good. And then the more you watch it, you're like, is this even based off of anything?
It's true. No, it is true, because literally there's so many moments where it's like, okay, we're having him do this, and we're gonna have, Selena be this person. We're gonna have, this deal where there's like a heart-to-heart deal between Alfred and Bruce, and it's one of those things where it's like, oh, well, I would love to see you just, sitting across from me at a table, relaxing and everything like that. It's one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, but then the big climax happens, like, well, we're not getting that moment, are we? But they ended with with literally him and Selena across from Alfred, just chilling like nothing even happened. It's like, what? That makes no sense. And then you had Joseph Gordon-Levitt's find the Batcave, and he's supposed to be the new Robin, I guess. Then they didn't capitalize on that. It's like, oh, damn it. And honestly, I want to say this, that Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Dick Grayson as Robin, I would still be on board for. I think that he definitely does have the look, and I think he could definitely pull off those kind of action deals. If you minus a lot of the comedic stuff that he's done, I thought that he was probably one of the highlights from Dark Knight Rises. He definitely wasn't one of those things where I was like, oh, this guy. It's like, oh, hey, we got a redeeming quality of this movie. Totally okay with this. Can we have more? So if they do go like if they could do like a solo Dick Grayson movie that has Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Robin, I'd be okay with that. But I don't know. What were your thoughts on Joseph's portrayal of Dick Grayson in Rises?
I mean, he was totally fine. I thought it was interesting, his reasons of why they would be called, or why he would be called Robin. Like, that his middle name was Robin. I'm like, really? I also would have liked to see a little bit more of his back history, because we only saw like a detective Dick Grayson, and again, if you know the comic books, which Teen Titans, aka Titans, will show you this story a lot better. Dick Grayson is raised by Bruce, so aka Batman. So it's a little weird if he's just like doesn't know him at all, and like, oh, now I'm a grown ass man, gonna go in and train with you. Like, that's not how it works. Like, he adopts him after his family gets murdered, in his circus act of the trapeze. So there's a lot of really dark and sad things that happen in the DC universe, and we get it, but that's the type of setting and the type of, event to trigger something like, I want to try to be a superhero. And I think that's an interesting fact for them, is like, they have to have triggers that will cause them to want to, risk their lives when they don't have any superpowers, like Robin and Batman and a lot of the, other people in Gotham are not necessarily supers, and so getting to know why they have such a dark and deep thing inside of them that makes them want to be a hero is interesting, and I think it's worth at least giving a try. If you're like, oh, well, DC's always way too dark for me, it's like, it's not about that it's way too dark, it's about, like, bad things happen to people, and these people end up taking it in the other direction. Other people end up taking it and, going down the road of depression, and and stuff. And I'm not saying these heroes aren't depressed. If you watch these things, you're like, yeah, you're definitely depressed, and you shouldn't be doing this. And this is probably not the healthy route to go psychotic on some of these other people. But I think it's just an interesting take to try to humanize them and try to be like, hey, everybody's just a person, even if you have superpower or super kung fu skills.
You know, this kind of does make the single full circle, because it does go back to the conversation we just had about Joker movie and how it definitely does have a very interesting aura about it. That there's been so many movies that we've seen that we've seen the fact that, you know, there's so many, you know, dark moments involved in it, and we've seen so many, you know, bleak moments where it's literally like, wow, they put this on the screen. It's like, yeah, because that's kind of part of their backstory. And there's only so many movies involved in the DC universe where they have gone, you know, that darker route, where they have gone that deal where it's like, okay, this is their backstory. They had this horrific deal. You know, I think that Joker's going to be the first of its kind where it's like, yeah, we're going fully on board, full on, just legit telling you this is what happened. It's as dark as you can imagine it to being. It's probably as horrific as you can imagine it being. So I'm hoping that there's nothing but success for the Joker. I'm hoping it is definitely one of those movies that does kind of, you know, tear open the envelope a little bit more. And hopefully it involves a lot more deals where it's like, okay, they show that they can literally, you know, open the envelope, and that they can show the dark history of certain characters. Let's see more of that, because that is what DC is really good at. They're really good at bringing up the fact that, hey, the reason why this person is really messed up is because, you know, something went on with his family, or, you know, he was definitely one of those people that had a hard lifestyle growing up. So just continue doing that. In all honesty, I think that DC as of late has been doing a good job with that. Aquaman had some pretty bleak moments where it's like, oh boy, yeah, okay, so she ran away, did not get married, went with a human, they had a kid, yeah, they want to kill her. Okay, yep, that's something we're not going to see in certain other movies. Try to think of like any other ones. The darkness that they bring into, you know, Shazam, where literally they show, where they show this kid, you know, having to, you know, talk to his mom, and how she literally shows that, you know, she would love to, you know, be there for him, but it's one of those things where says that phrase, "Now's not a good time," where in the back of your head you're just like, oh, geez, those things that, you know, people don't really talk about that much. And I think the problem is that people don't want to go down that dark route, because then they'll think, well, this person's going to relate to it, and that's going to be like, oh, well, if they could do this, I can do this. Like, no, don't. It's relatable to a point. It's relatable to a point. Yes, if you have a bad history, definitely, you know, think more on the positive sides of the things that you do have than the things that you don't have. But don't just do like this crazy, you know, act just to prove this, because that's not going to solve anything. Just be that person that can, you know, kind of move on from the dark history that you have and be able to think more on the positive limelight. That's just my opinion on that, and it's, like I said, it's kind of a full circle deal. Hopefully, like I said, Joker is like the standard where it's like, okay, we're showing that we can bring out some of that, you know, darkness. Let's see that spill out into other, I guess you can call it DC movies. I don't even know if this movie is DC. Is it?
Which one?
The Joker movie that comes out tonight.
Yeah, I believe it is.
I'll have to double check and look it up. But it's one of those things where it's like, it doesn't even feel like it's a DC movie. Because, yes, it's a standalone, but it's one of those movies where it's like, it definitely has that different aura where it's like, it could be something completely different. But I went on a little bit of a tangent, so I apologize, people, if it just went completely off track. But, it's okay. Oh, nope, I was wrong. It is a DC. Okay, so it's a DC based. Okay, so basically it's like, okay, we have the Joker, but it's one of those things where it's also going to be kind of like a spin. Okay, so same thing. Honestly, I got I got nothing else. Do you have anything else that you wanted to discuss before we wrap up this episode?
No, I think it's great. I think we talked a lot about really fun stuff, and I'm excited for the new movies coming up.
Yeah, so guys, we're going to try to do a Joker-themed episode for next week to talk about the Joker movie that takes place tonight. Hopefully we have enough time in our schedules to do that. We'll definitely touch base more about that. In 2 weeks, I think that definitely my co-host brought up this idea, and we'll probably do it. I will try to look at the DC Universe. What is it? The streaming deal. There we go. And we'll pick some episode. We'll pick some series that we'll talk about, whether it's just first episode or just a couple episodes in, just to kind of discuss it and maybe even give you guys a little more insight as to what goes on with that. Honestly, guys, it's going to be building up all the way to the end of the month, where honestly it's going to be the Halloween episode, and we'll definitely have something special for you guys there. So,
Yay.
For some of the things that we got coming up for me at the Game Changer, you guys know that I've been doing a lot of the independent wrestling deals that will not change. Saturday is going to be ACW Wrestling. We'll be presenting Night of the Legends, where I'll be in attendance when we find out who will be the new ACW champion, whether it be Nick Colucci or Logan Lynch. But also featured on the show is the Rock and Roll Express, Ted DiBiase, as well as Arn Anderson. So definitely, if you guys have not made your tickets, if you haven't gotten your tickets, definitely get your tickets for the show. They are selling out like hotcakes. I even have a couple tickets that I've already sold out to. So definitely get your tickets for that. It's going to be awesome. That's the main thing that's coming to mind right now. For those of you that are in the Chicago area, in a couple weeks I will be back down there to witness Bound for Glory, produced by Impact Wrestling, so definitely be on the lookout for that. Tori, did you have any updates or anything for like special projects or anything more on the She-Hulk deal? Is there any updates on like an official date or release?
No, we are just, in post, so post takes a while. Expect that it's going to take a while, and once it's, coming out and I can do a cute little trailer or some promo, I would love to do so that people can, kind of be excited about it, because I haven't really done anything for it yet. But like a good movie producer and director, I don't like to, keep people hanging for months and months. I like to let it out, and people will see it in like a few weeks after that. So, trying to keep their interest. I understand that if you see something too far ahead, you kind of forget about it nowadays.
No, totally makes sense. Alright guys, so for Victory Bell, I've been NateFNGreat. You've been listening to the Game Changer podcast exclusively on so many different podcasting formats, including Spreaker.com, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, all those great places. Definitely check us out on our Facebook fan page, as well as give her a like on her Facebook fan page, Victory Bell, because it is awesome. And recently, I actually posted one of your early cosplays, to which a lot of people have been like, oh man, that's awesome, that's really cool. I think you even mentioned that this was one that you forgot even existed.
Well, the picture, yeah, because that was from like the first ever Archon I went to, so that was interesting. But it was my first ever handmade costume, so I love Chandra. She holds something dear in my heart.
Well, guys, maybe that in a future episode we'll have to let Victory Bell pick 10 of her cosplays and let you know which ones are her favorites. Maybe that's going to be a future episode. Who knows? Honestly, for those of you that haven't seen it, I did one. I think it was either earlier this year or it was last year. Either way, if you haven't gotten a chance, definitely check it out. It's one of those lists that is very telling of my thoughts on these cosplays that she's done in the past. So, you know what? We're definitely going to make that happen. We're going to have Victory Bell pick her 10 favorite cosplay attires, her thoughts on them, as well as even some of the struggles and maybe some of the benefits of creating these characters. So definitely be on the lookout for that. But other than that, guys, have a good week, and we will talk to you in the next episode. Later.
Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Coda Jacobs, the crusader and visionary behind a brighter future in wrestling. If you're an honorable and noble public servant like myself, you are listening to the Game Changer Podcast.